Welcome back to the deep dive. If you are learning a new language, especially English, I'm sure you know this feeling. You dedicate the time, you learn a new word, maybe a great one, a complicated one, and you got that little rush of accomplishment. And then maybe a day or two later, it's just vanished. It's like a piece of paper that just floated out of your brain's filing cabinet and is gone forever.
Oh, it's the ultimate frustration for a learner. You see that word again a week later and you think, I know I worked on this. Why is my brain betraying me?
Exactly. And the first reaction, almost always, is to blame yourself. I must be getting old, or I'm just bad at languages.
Yeah.
But that assumption is the very first thing we're going to tear apart today. Our mission in this deep dive is to show you that forgetting isn't some kind of moral failing. It's not a sign of weak intelligence. It's actually a sign that your brain is working exactly the way it was designed to. We've pulled together the neurological reasons for this whole vanishing act and, more importantly, a set of simple, real-life strategies to finally make those words stick.
And let's start with that essential aha moment, because it really is the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. Forgetting new, low-frequency information is not a mistake. It is a sign of evolutionary efficiency. Your brain isn't trying to annoy you. It is trying to save energy.
Wait, hold on. So if I forget a word, I've just proven my brain is healthy. That feels so counterintuitive, especially if you're sitting there feeling frustrated right now.
It does, I know, but think of the brain as the ultimate efficiency expert. When you learn a new word just one time, you're creating a new connection, a new synapse. But that connection requires energy, you see, metabolic energy to maintain.
Okay.
So the brain looks at this new word, this one-off piece of data, and it categorizes it as low priority.
Right.
And if that word doesn't show up again pretty quickly, if you don't use that connection again, your brain concludes, okay, this data is taking up bandwidth, but it's not useful for survival or, daily life. So it engages in what scientists call synaptic pruning. It just trims that weak connection away.
To save power for other things.
Exactly. To allocate resources to things you use every single day, like walking or recognizing faces or speaking your native language.
Synaptic pruning. I like that phrasing.
Okay.
So the brain is basically just decluttering its own hard drive. If I only use a word one time, my brain treats it like an unused app and just deletes it to free up space.
Precisely. The goal is efficiency, not perfect recall of every single thing you've ever seen. We need to stop fighting this natural tendency to forget and instead focus on convincing the brain that a word is actually high-value data.
I love that framing. So we're not fixing a broken memory. We're just learning how to trick the efficiency expert inside our own skull. Okay, let's unpack this. This brings us right to the #1 tactical mistake that people make.
And that mistake is the relentless focus on quantity over the quality of contact.
Absolutely. The research we looked at all points to this compulsion to cram. Learners create these huge lists, 10 words a day, 20 words a day.
Maybe even 50 before a big test.
Right. And you feel productive because you're checking off the list, but the only result is a deeply, deeply tired brain.
And a tired brain is a forgetful brain. It's that simple. If you flood the system with 50 new words in one sitting, you're pretty much activating that forgetting mechanism on purpose. The brain gets overwhelmed, it saves maybe a tiny fraction, and the rest is pruned away.
So the immediate pivot then isn't learning more words.
Not at all. The solution is meeting the same word again and again, but in different contexts. We have to create multiple, dense points of contact for that single piece of information.
Okay, let's use a simple example, even for a beginner word. Let's say your goal is to really learn the word morning. You don't need to try to memorize dawn, daybreak, and sunrise all in the same day. That's just quantity.
Instead, you need context. You need to expose the brain to that one word in different high-frequency combinations. You might hear or say good morning or morning coffee, my morning routine.
Always run in the morning.
Or she's not a morning person. Right. All of these different situations.
That's the analogy that really clicked for me. It's like bumping into a new acquaintance. You see them at the store, then you see them at work, then at the park. Eventually your brain just goes, okay, this person is clearly important, they're everywhere, and you upgrade them from acquaintance to a friend you recognize instantly.
That's a perfect way to put it. Seeing the word in those different contexts helps the brain conclude, wait, this word is showing up in 5 different neural pathways, it must be important. And when the brain decides a word is important, it invests in it. It builds stronger pathways for it.
And that idea of different pathways leads us to a really core idea, the context rule.
Right, which is fundamentally that words do not like to be alone. A word by itself is weak, it's unclear. And it's extremely easy for the brain to categorize as, prunable.
Let's use a slightly more complex word for this. How about the word elusive? If I just say elusive and you stop for a moment and just think about it, what does your brain immediately start doing?
It starts searching.
Exactly. It's asking questions.
Elusive what? Is it an elusive criminal? Is it elusive data that's hard to find? The elusive memory of a dream? If the brain can't immediately assign a clear situation to it, it creates confusion.
And when a word is unclear, when it doesn't have a specific job in that moment, your brain can't file it properly. It doesn't know which drawer to put it in, so it just keeps it in this sort of temporary memory where it's easily deleted.
What's fascinating here is that the word needs a home, and that home is context. Context is just the company the word keeps, the other words around it that give it its real-life meaning.
So that's the difference between seeing elusive on a flashcard and actually hearing it in a full, clear sentence.
Think about the massive difference in clarity there. When you hear the source of the problem remained elusive, we're talking about something abstract, a solution or a cause. But if you hear, we got a big, elusive glimpse of the rare bird, the word is suddenly physical, it's descriptive, it's tied to movement. The word isn't isolated anymore. It has a specific, clear place.
So this is the simple, powerful rule we want you to take away from this. Never learn a word alone. Always learn the word inside a full, useful sentence. Because a sentence gives that word a home, and that home makes it memorable.
A word alone is a ghost. It just drifts away. But a word in a sentence is an actor on a stage performing a clear role, and that makes it unforgettable.
That is a perfect bridge. We've covered quality of contact and using context. Now let's talk about physical activation. We need to shift from just passively thinking to actively using the words. And here's where it gets really interesting. English isn't just something you think about quietly in your mind. It's something you produce with your mouth and hear with your ears.
It sounds so simple, but it's so powerful.
The next strategy is the simplest, but probably the one that gets skipped the most, especially when you're studying alone. Say the new words out loud, and I mean truly out loud. Use your full voice so your own ears can register the sound of your own speech.
This is a fantastic memory hack because it engages multiple sensory systems at the same time. When you say a word out loud, you're forcing the brain to coordinate motor functions. Your mouth, your tongue, and process auditory feedback, your ears hearing the word again.
Right, it's creating a stronger memory trace.
A much stronger one. We can sort of create a hierarchy here. Reading is good, listening is better, speaking is even better. But listening and speaking together, hearing your own voice produce the sound. That's the winning combination. That's what helps you remember words for a very, very long time.
So if the word is that acquaintance we keep running into, this is the part where we actually have to talk to them, not just look at them from across the room. Okay, so we know the brain hates being tired, which happens when we cram for hours. Let's talk about the small secret of ideal timing, because this is the real backbone of long-term retention.
You're right. Studies on this are incredibly consistent. The brain rebels against long study sessions, an hour, 2 hours straight. That just leads to mental exhaustion, and it actually activates the forgetting mechanism faster.
So trying to force it is counterproductive.
Completely. The solution is the exact opposite of cramming. Your brain loves short, frequent exposure.
We're talking 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But the key is the consistency. It has to be every day. That short daily commitment is immensely better than one long study session and then stopping for a week.
And this leads us directly to what is really the gold standard for language memory, spaced repetition.
Let's break that down because it sounds technical, but it's actually very simple.
It is. Let's just define the two parts. Spaced means there is an intentional gap, a space between your learning times. You are deliberately not doing it all at once. And repetition means you see the same word again and again. But the key is that the repetition happens after the forgetting has started to set in. You're reactivating the memory just before it disappears.
Right. If you look at the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, which basically graphs how quickly we lose information, it shows we forget most rapidly right after learning something. So spaced repetition is basically punching back against that curve. You wait a bit, let the memory dip, and then you pull it back up again. And that makes the next dip shallower.
It makes the memory stronger each time.
Let's make this really concrete. Can we walk through a simple 5-minute schedule using this? Something anyone can do, no special apps needed.
Absolutely. Implementation is everything. So let's say you learn a new useful word today. How about mitigate? To lessen the severity of something. Okay, so you look at it in one sentence for 5 minutes in the morning. The city implemented new rules to mitigate noise pollution. You analyze it You say it out loud and then you stop. You don't look at it again for maybe 8 hours.
You're letting the forgetting process begin. Then later, at night, you see that same word, mitigate, but in a totally different sentence. Maybe you're reading the news. They're trying to mitigate the damage caused by the storm. Another 5 minutes.
Now your brain has met the word twice, in 2 different contexts, with a big space in between. And the memory progression is really striking. The first time, it's brand new. The second time, at night, it feels familiar. The third time you see it the next day, maybe in a conversation, suddenly the word just feels easy. Easy to understand, easy to use.
It's that slow, consistent action that the brain rewards.
Exactly. We have to change the metric. It's not about how fast you learn, it's about how consistently you expose your brain to the word.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? We've basically laid out a simple framework. You need to prioritize short, daily steps over these exhausting marathons. Stop counting how many new words you learn and start counting how many times you meet the same word. And always, always learn words in context. Give them a home inside a useful sentence. And finally, use your voice. Activate that physical memory by saying the words out loud.
And let's just reiterate that central, really encouraging message. Forgetting is a part of growth. It is normal. You will forget words. Your only job is to provide enough consistent reinforcement, enough proof of usefulness to convince your brain to hold on to it for the long run.
Your English isn't lost. It's just building. Slowly, quietly, and strongly, one short point of contact at a time. It's just waiting for you to prove its long-term value.
And if we tie this all back to that deep neurological mechanism that the brain only keeps what it thinks is useful, it raises a really interesting, provocative question for you to think about this week. How might you strategically use one of those new words in a real conversation, even a simple one, within the next 48 hours? How can you trick your brain into recognizing its importance? Go make those words useful. Go make them non-prunable.